everybody, good morning and welcome back to Gun Bunny Customs. And today we're going to be doing part 3 in our video series of painting the figures that came with the G.I. Joe classified Dragonfly Haslab and painting them in a Tiger Force paint scheme. So like I said, this is the third video, and so I wanted to go ahead and do a go ahead and do the third one and show the progress that we've done. And we've gotten pretty far on them. So Glinda is pretty much done. I like the way that she came out. One night it just hit me the way that I wanted her to look, even though I thought she was going to end up being the last one. So we don't really have much left to do, but as you can see, I put a darker blue, a kind of muted darker blue tiger stripe all the way through the blue portion of her bodysuit, and then I added the maroon to the inner panel of her leotard or whatever, and you can see there was actually like a body line panel on there. And so that's pretty much what she's going to look like. All I have left to do is to button up her gear in the back, and that's one of the things that I wanted to show here on this episode, is when I do cut off the accessories, how I put them back together, and the process, and what I and how I do that. Excuse me. Now, we also made quite a bit of progress on Wild Bill. There's just a little bit more tightening up that I want to do on the tiger stripes, but I like the way that he came out. I like the way he looks with that bright yellow on the green. Like I said, very reminiscent of the early line of the original release. We're able to keep the patches, and the same thing. I'm going to show here how we're going to put his vest back together. Now, the reason why I do that is, usually you boil them, pop them, take them all apart, but with these being pegless and all that kind of stuff, there's no ability to prep the joints, so I didn't do it that way. And so, excuse me. So when you're taking the accessories off, and even when you boil and pop them, sometimes you really got to wrestle them back on, and that'll start tearing into the paint that you have on top. So for me, it's just easier to make a cut and in a strategic spot that'll allow it to come off, like right here. I cut it right here in the back, and it allowed it to just fall off her shoulders to the front without really causing too much friction on the way in or the way out, as opposed to me having to boil and pop this whole joint out and then take it off the top, and then having to smush it down from the top down again. When this would just be much easier, you wouldn't get as much paint rub. So what I do is, when I put them back together, what I do is I'll glue a piece of, you can see like a little piece of white paper on one side. So I'll glue it to one side, and then that way when you glue the second part back over, it's got more than just the surface of the two cut pieces to hold. So instead of just having this part and this part here for them to attach, you have a whole strip, you have paper that's attached to the back on both sides. That's going to give it a nice, a really nice tight, locked in hold on it, and it makes the joint strong. And then once you do that, if you have any little bit of paper left over, you can just take your X-Acto knife and cut it, and then you won't be able to see it. And then you can just put like a little drop of black paint right there and just kind of work it in, and you won't even be able to see the seam line or whatever color the accessories is. In this case, they're both black. So you can see, like here, I put a small piece on this side that's above the opening for the peg hole, and then a longer piece on this bottom side, and then I will just overlap them like that, and then glue it and hold it in place, and it'll lock it in. And like I said, you won't even be able to tell that that it was cut once you put a little bit of paint in there to fill in that seam. And then I didn't have to worry about trying to pull this whole thing over all of the tiger stripes that I just painted. Now, with something like this where it's a belt that can easily come off, you wouldn't have to do it. But things like this where it's going to have to get pulled or dragged over the body, like I said, like these harnesses, it's just easier to cut it, and you'll get a much better result. And so I did the same thing for him. Okay, so for Crazy Legs and Airborne, We've gotten all of the tiger stripes all over. Oh Jesus Christ, what's his name? Wallace Weems ripcord. Oh my God, ripcord. And you can see I went with that darker red, sort of a maroon blood red, and it looks really good. You know, it's kind of nice and muted. It isn't as loud, so then that way, the body, his bodysuit will be, like I said, kind of the muted black and red. And then when we put his gear on, that's going to be yellow. It's going to have a nice bright pop to it. So his gear and his helmet are going to be yellow, and then he's going to have that. So we're almost done with him. And then with Crazy Legs, we did the red inside of the quilted patterns, and then now I'm working on the outside of the legs where it's going to have the bright have the bright yellow tiger stripes. So I'm working on those, getting those all nice and evenly coated, and have, you know, like a nice clean design to them. So when you're doing yellow, especially yellow, which is to me the worst color to paint, and you're doing it something over like a dark color like this, you're gonna have to do multiple passes, multiple coats, because even working with a primer, which is supposed to have you know, it's supposed to be really opaque and have a good hold on whatever it is that you painted on, it's still difficult. You still gets a little bit thin, so you can still see the black through it. So you got to make a couple of passes, and that gives you the ability also to tighten up your design. Like you can see, like with her design is very crisp and sharp, and that's because the blue that I use is, you know, opaque enough to cover it in one shot like that. With the red, even most of them I was able to get in with one shot, but I still needed to tighten up and make another pass on some of them. All right, so that's going to be it for today's episode. Another thing that I want to do is I think I'm going to try to get some Tiger Force decals, and maybe put some Tiger Force decals on their gear. You know, maybe like on this back panel, or like I said, on his backpack or something like that. So I'm thinking the next episode should be the last episode, where we do the final reveal with all of them all completely done and assembled, and then that'll be it for the series, and then that'll be it pretty much for my commission, and it'll be packed up and shipped out to the sunny UK. All right, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to follow Gun Bunny Customs on Instagram, and we'll see you next time.